Greetings. My name is Diane Skiba, and I have the honor today of interviewing Dr. Marion Ball. This is part of a project sponsored by the IMIA-NI group. This project is titled Nursing Informatics Development, Implementation, and Evaluation Over 5 Decades, Personal Accounts and Experiences from International Experts. Welcome, Marion.
Well, thank you so much, Diane, for the welcome. I'm so looking forward to having a chat with you and to share some of my experiences with our colleagues.
That's wonderful. Well, let's start with you describing your journey into the field of informatics. How did you get started?
Well, I was very fortunate. I got started very early into this field because I worked when I was actually still very, very young at the University of Kentucky. And that was in 1962 after I got my master's in mathematics. And I got a job at the computing center as a instructor and working at the help desk. And as I was working in this area, I was invited to start implementing a clinical lab system, which was an 1800 data acquisition and control system built by IBM, one of the very early 16K machines that took over, really started to, I know it's hard to believe, I mean, that we could do so much with that little. And during that particular time, I worked a lot with mostly med techs. And in those days, everybody thought I was a med tech because I was always interested in the interdisciplinary aspects. Well, after I got into that area, I wrote a book on how to select a computer for the pathology clinical lab. Then my husband got a very good job at Temple University in Philadelphia. So we moved to Philadelphia, where I became the director of a computing center and realized that this would be a good opportunity to work with the physicians at the medical school. And my father said to me, Marion, you can have a much bigger influence if you work with nurses, even though you're not a nurse. They are the ones that take care of the patients. They're the ones that need the information more. The physician sees the patient because he was a physician himself. So I took his good advice and one of your other areas with regard to mentors. So really my first mentor was my father. That's how I got into the nursing. And then I realized that I went to some professional meetings and I met Kathy Hanna at one of the professional meetings. And we were using in those kind mimeograph sheets to be able to produce materials for our students. I can't believe this goes back into the late 60s and early 70s. And so Kathy and I at one of the meetings said, this is ridiculous. We should sit down and do a book where we don't have to use all of these flimsy papers. And so we wrote our first book together, which was called Computers in Healthcare. It's the green book that I have. Here it is, I'll show it to you. Here it is. Can you see it? Using computers in nursing. So we didn't even have the word informatics at the time. So using computers in nursing, which worked well because I wasn't a nurse, but Dr. Catherine Hanna was one of the leading nurses in Canada. So that kind of got me launched into how I got into the field. So I could go on even more, but I know we have a limit on each of your good questions. I hope that gives you at least an introduction to where I have devoted a lot of my time with using computers in nursing, now called nursing informatics.
Thank you. That's great. And, you've been in a variety of settings and now you've been focused a little bit more in academia.
Well, actually, I've always had a pinky in academia for, oh my gosh, almost 50, 60 years now. But even though I was in an administrative position at Temple University with the computing, I also decided that I needed to have an academic appointment. So I did have an academic appointment already there. In that days, it was in the department, would you believe, of medical physics, because at the time, sad to say, but the College of Nursing at Temple had just not gotten its recertification. So I actually worked with the Villanova University because there was a Louise Fitzpatrick, a wonderful nurse, dean of the school at that time, who was very interested and said, we need to get our faculty to understand how computers are used in nursing and how that would enable us to be better nurses. So given that introduction, I worked with her and Kathy, and then we decided that it may be good to start a whole series. So the field was moving rapidly. So my father, again, who had written many books with Springer Verlag, introduced me to Springer. And that way, in 1988, we did the first book, which was called Nursing Informatics, Where Caring and Technology Meet. That was the first edition. And I'm really proud to say that now, move far forward to 2022, we just published the 5th edition, which is a classic textbook, more so than before, than it was just describing the field. So that is, if you say, that's how I kind of got into the whole academic field and still doing administrative work. So academia has been great. And also one of the things you know very well about me, yourself, Diane, I've always been a big proponent of not working in silos. So that the concept of you moving from just nursing informatics to health informatics, where we work with social work, where you work with computer science, where you work with the dietitians, where you work with the pharmacists and the dentists. And so Kathy and I then really started in a way establishing a whole new discipline through the Springer series, which started with the one book. And now, this many years later, there are over 100 books in the series with all different disciplines, and about 30 of them that Kathy and I, with all of the different, we did the nursing informatics, where caring and technology meet, and then that may be a little bit for senior, for faculty. Then we decided we needed one that was more basic, and then we wrote, and that's also been in the sixth edition, Introduction to Nursing Informatics, which Kathy was the senior editor of. I was the senior editor of the other. That book is now done by some of the colleagues that Kathy has in Canada. We're starting at our age now to hand them over to the next generation. And actually the 5th edition of the book I just talked about of nursing informatics, since it was so broad, we named it as a subtitle, no longer Where Caring and Technology Meet, but used it as a multi-interprofessional global perspective. And I think you've seen a copy of that book as well. So that's how we've been able to manage both administrative and academia. And as you know, when I was in the nursing school at the Temple University, then at the University of Maryland, and then at Johns Hopkins, and then when I retired from Johns Hopkins as a professor emerita, I spent, believe it or not, 15 years in industry. I was at IBM Research, where it's like a little university within that huge company. And then being such a journey, and I've been so fortunate, I was recruited to put together kind of like a live stream, a multi-interprofessional center for health informatics, which you can see in my behind me, and seeing how our head, maybe say my head is swelling with the brain on the side, that we're moving into that dream that I had with a very capable co-director, Gabriella Wilson, who was working with me. That's a long-winded question as to how I've been able to be in and out of academia, but I am now a full professor and with tenure at this university. So back into my academic roots.
Great. Now, you've mentioned your father was really one of your first mentors. Were there others that really helped to guide your career?
Absolutely. I mean, mentorship is just so key, and in learning from other people, and something that you and I have in common, Diane. You know, we've devoted so much of our lives to nursing, but actually professionally, we're both not nurses. So in many ways, in the nursing profession, I've been very, very fortunate to always be accepted, just as you and I have that in common. And I've also had, again, multi-interprofessional mentors. I would say somebody who guided me and was really a mentor, two men in particular. One was Dr. Maurice Collin, who I've written the history of medical informatics with, but he was with me in so many of my international activities when I was president of the International Medical Informatics Association, because we also And he is with me, as well as the other person. The second man that I have to give credit for is Dr. Donald A.B. Lindbergh, who was the director of the National Library of Medicine. And I knew him long before that, when he really established one of the first medical informatics programs at the University of Missouri. So we've not only been able to promote the field just within nursing into medical education and medical informatics, very much involved in the international arena. And there too, I had a very good mentor in Hans Pedersen, whose wife Ulla Pedersen is also one of the senior people in nursing informatics. I had Reinhold Hauks. I mean, I've been so blessed with so many incredible mentors and colleagues. And within someone who also helped me in the nursing profession is Angela McBride, who we've mentored each other since she has such a visionary in management, what she's taught me, and we're still working on things together. I've been really blessed. And as I said, it started off with my father. The one thing that I really regretted is that it took a long time, and it's still mostly in my era. And of course, I'm 82 years old now, so I've been around for a long, long time. It was always men that were helpful. I think it's only recently that we're realizing, and we have to promote, and I've made that as a mission for myself, that women need to help each other more. I feel that so many, particularly maybe the older generation like I am, they feel that they've crawled and scratched their way to the top, that they're less interested in helping other women. And I think this is a big mistake. I have to say, though, in the last couple of years, last 10, 15 years, I think it's changing, and it's very encouraging for me. But that's my story on mentoring. So women, get involved and help each other.
There you go. What would you say was the most rewarding aspect of your informatics work?
Well, for me, the socialization and the people that I've met and the friends that I've made, I really feel like I have a wonderful family that's given to me, my parents, my children, my grandchildren, but I have an extended family, and I count you as somebody who is so near and dear to me. And it's like a ring around those people that we just came back from IMIA, and I saw so many of my friends. Hey, Marion, who is from Brazil. I was so happy to see Patrice Degolay from France. There was, our nursing comrades from Finland. I mean, these international, and also definitely, I told you about Marissa Wilson, just being able to see some of my friends who I've served on the board for over 30 years now at CINI, the Summer Institute for Nursing Informatics. And those friends, people at Johns Hopkins that were there, Krisha Hudson, these are young women that I knew at age 18 and who were nursing students and are now DMP professors. That whole concept, and you have that experience too, I know, and we've shared that with each other. The people that we've been able to mentor, the people who, our students, people who we have had good and bad times with, but we've been able to support each other. So that is what to me has been the most gratifying and something that I'm most grateful for. I feel blessed with my entire career.
That's great. What advice would you give to the next generation of nursing informatics people?
Well, I think one of the big advice that I would give them is join professional organizations. Mm-hmm. I mean, not just join, but volunteer and work with the subgroups. If you have a special passion, and I was very interested in my era, how could we improve the electronic health record? So I worked in a lot of working groups, and it was not just one organization. You've got to think about more than one. Some are more academic, which would be IMIA. Then there were more that were down to those who at the bedside and doing things like at HIMSS. IMIA stands for the American Medical Informatics Association, HIMSS, the Health Information Management Systems Society. And then in my case, because I'm an immigrant, I was born in South Africa, so I have a very desire to see what we could do for developing countries. My parents were German, so I also have a European interest. So right as an early age, was very interested in the International Medical Informatics Association. And there's no reason that not early on, I would recommend for young men and women who are in this field, go there, work, and then work yourself up to be part of the leadership. I mean, I was very lucky. I became the first female American to be president of the International Medical Informatics Association. And I have to say, the gratification of that experience, it was hard work and it was doing all of that as a volunteer, but it was worth every single minute of it. So that would be one of the big recommendations I would make. And I think also while you're still young, if you've got a BSN, go on and get a master's. Do something that you specialize in. It can be rural health, it can be geriatrics, it can be and then join those organizations as well. So I think that the field of nursing is particularly good because it opens the door to so many areas. You can become an administrator. Look at that, I mean, the director of the National Library of Medicine right now, Patty Brennan, started out as a nurse. And if you think about people who are running huge corporations, started out as nursing. So I can only say, if I had to do it all over again, I was a math major and I got a master's in mathematics, and then it got into computing and got my doctorate in medical education. I would have, instead of getting a liberal arts degree, I would have gotten a degree in nursing. That's what I would, because I then have had that clinical basis as well as all of the other. So that would be my advice for young nurses and men or women to move into this enormously exciting field of health informatics, because it's just it's really exploding. I'd like to start right now. We're working closely with engineering. You've got the whole aspect of virtual reality. You've got the artificial intelligence. You've got so much going on in using social determinants of health, all aspects of the social sciences, mental health. I mean, it's all being enhanced by enabling technologies, which is what our field is, health informatics.
What wonderful advice. And truly, this group of honorary members that we are interviewing for this project shows the passion that people had to join the organization and to continue giving and participating and leading in this organization. So it's been wonderful to talk with you today.
Well, it's been my pleasure. And Diane, hats off to you. What you've done for the field and what you continue to do is just so memorable for all of us, and a special applause for that. So thank you for the kind interview. And I look forward to seeing you, I hope soon, in the not too distant future. Thanks.
I wish to see you too. Thank you.